All right, hey everybody, this is Nathaniel J, and we are about to finish Book 1 of Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East by Barid T. Spalding. We're on the second half of Chapter 24, and before we actually jump right into it, I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of the behind-the-scenes look at the studio and how things have kind of come along here at Alive and Thriving. This is it. I have made my own soft lights by just putting some Kleenex over some regular LED lights. I have my camera set up there. I have one monitor, my MacBook Air that I was using to do everything on before, right there. I have a Samsung USB mic, and then I have my brand new toy, a 27-inch iMac that I got for a steal of a deal from Experamac. Just wanted to show you that because yesterday when I bought this beautiful 27-inch iMac, we actually had a very synchronistic event take place. Now, I know I've talked about synchronicities on the channel before, but I just wanted to show you one in real time. So, called around, found the best possible iMac that I could through the various Experamac retailers in the area. The beautiful thing about this beast over here is that it has 32 gigabytes of RAM, a terabyte solid state hard drive. So it really is built for this. I was just kind of pulling my hair out trying to produce these videos on a MacBook Air. So I went and I got this beautiful 27-inch iMac, and check this out. Ticket number came out to be, hopefully you can see that, 117222. That was the ticket number for the transaction, if you will. And a little bit about me and my synchronistic occurrences is that angel number 117 and 222 pop up all the time for me. It's literally all the time. 1107, 117, 1007, any of those derivations, okay? So because I've talked about synchronicities before, the beautiful thing is that I bought this iMac for Alive and Thriving, right? 117, as I'm about to read from Joanna Scribes, the channeler who I recommended before, if you were seeing triple digit numbers like 333, 444, any of those combinations. For you, maybe it's 404. For me, it's 117, and then I see all of the other standard ones like 111, 333, 222, all of the time, 444, 456, 345, stuff like that. So here is what angel number 117 actually says. Number 117 is a blend of the vibrations and energies of the double number 1 and 7. Number 1 relates to new beginnings, motivation and progress, self-leadership and assertiveness, achievement and success, inspiration, attainment, fulfillment, and omniscience. Number 1 appearing twice relates to the karmic master number 11, which tells us that to connect with our higher selves is to know, live, and serve our life purpose and soul mission. It asks that you pay attention to your thoughts and ideas as these are revealing the answers to your prayers. Number 7 resonates with the attributes of spiritual awakening and enlightenment, mysticism, empathic and psychic abilities, inner wisdom, and manifesting your desires. Number 117 is an auspicious number as it embodies the new with manifesting good fortune. Remember to be grateful for all that the universe provides. Angel number 117 is a message that you are heading in the right direction in your life, and this has been achieved through your positive affirmations, intentions, actions, and expectations. We create our own realities, and you have managed to consciously steer your life in a very positive direction and have good reason to feel optimistic and happy with yourself as you have achieved a great personal success. When you expect great things happen. Angel number 117 suggests that you are on the right path on your life's journey. The angels support and encourage you with your life purpose, and you have good reason to be optimistic about your chosen direction or path. Listen to your intuition and higher self and take appropriate action, as only you can serve your soul purpose and fulfill your destiny. The angels encourage you to maintain a positive attitude and use positive affirmations in order to manifest your highest ideals and aspirations. Angel number 117, and this is the part that I think is the coolest because I've been seeing this angel number 117 for like the past 6 to 7 months, and this is what it is. This is the part that I really take. I take away the whole meaning, that everything that I just read, but this part I really, really like. Angel number 117 can also suggest that it is time to begin a spiritually based practice, career, and or profession. The universe and angels will ensure that all that you require will be provided for you, and you are to trust your own skills, ability, and inner wisdom. Use your talents to serve humanity and bring illumination to those who seek it. So what could be better than that message to be on the ticket number for the Mac that I just bought? And hopefully you can see that because I can't see the screen after I hold this up. There it is. 117222. Excellent. So, really quickly, I'm going to jump over to 222 and then just give that reading really quick. Okay, here we go. Angel number 222 is made up of the attributes and energies of number 2 appearing tripled, making number 222 a very powerful vibration. Number 222 carries the attributes of the numbers 2 and 22, the master builder number, that resonates with an ancient wisdom, vision, idealism, and transformation. Number 2 lends its influence of faith and trust, encouragement, attainment and success, adaptability, diplomacy, and cooperation, duality, service, and duty, balance and harmony, selflessness, faith, and trust, and your divine life purpose and soul mission. Number 222 has to do with balance, manifesting miracles, and new, auspicious, and timely opportunities. Angel number 222 encourages you to take a balanced, harmonious, and peaceful stance in all areas of your life. The message is to keep the faith and stand strong in your personal truths. Angel number 222 tells you that everything will turn out for the best in the long term. Do not put your energies into negativity. Be aware that all is being worked out by spirit for the highest good of all involved. Angel number 222 is also reminding you to keep up the good work you are doing, as the evidence of your manifestations are coming to fruition. Angel number 222 is a message of faith and trust from your angels. Remember that nothing happens by chance and everything happens for a reason. Maintain a positive attitude and you will find that everything will have positive results and you will receive abundant blessings in divine right timing. What could be better than that message as I am officially getting the Alive and Thriving platform off the ground? Okay, so wanted to share that with you, just did. Let's jump into the end of Book 1 by Barid T. Spalding, Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. Emile's mother, the last speaker, used perfect English, and her voice was clear and concise. These were her words. We use forces every day that man in the mortal concept laughs at. We who are privileged to see and use these are doing all that we can to have men see and know what they are keeping out of their lives by the thoughts they are holding of the perfect things that are right at hand, ready and waiting to be taken hold of. As soon as these forces are taken hold of or appropriated by man, they will be far more real and living than those things that man clings to so desperately in the mortal. He clings to them because they can be seen, felt, and handled or contacted through the limited mortal senses. You will note that all our comforts in this room are those you are occupying, such as light and heat, and even the things you have eaten, are prepared by one of these forces. You may call it light rays or what you will. We see it as a great universal power or force which, when contacted by man, will work for him far more effectually than steam, electricity, gasoline, or coal. Yet we call it one of the least of the forces or powers. This force will not only furnish all the power needed by man, but it will also furnish heat for all his needs, at all times and in all places, without the consumption of 1 pound of fuel of any kind. This perfect force is perfectly noiseless, and if man will contact and use it, it will stop a great deal of the noise and confusion that now seems unavoidable. This power is right at hand, all about you, waiting for man to contact and use it. When he does contact and use this force, it will be far simpler than steam or electricity. As man is able to do this, he will see that all modes of power and locomotion that he has devised are but makeshifts that he has brought forth in his own mortal concept. He has thought that he himself has brought them forth, and he has in this way brought forth only that which he could contact with the mortal senses. He has brought forth imperfect things, whereas if humanity would see that all is of God and from God, expressing through humanity, all things that humanity brings forth would be perfect. Man, having free will, has chosen the hard way, and instead of realizing his sonship with God and using all that God has, he will go on in the hard way until he is driven to realize that there must be and really is a better way. He will eventually know that God's way is the only way. Then he will express the perfection that God sees him expressing right now. Do you not see how you must be centered in the Father within you, drawing the whole of your good from him, and how every force of your nature is to operate from this divine self? In the beginning of all expression is God, the Father, within, else God could not be expressed or brought forth. Here one of our party asked what power or force our thoughts and words had upon our lives. She held out her hand, and in a moment a small object was lying in it. She said, "Let me drop this pebble into this bowl of water." You see that the vibrations caused by the pebbles coming in contact with the water radiate from that center in ever-widening circles until they reach the rim of the bowl, outer edge of the water, where, to the eye, they seem to lose their force and stop. What really happens is this. As soon as the vibrations have reached the limits of the water, they start on their return journey back to the place where the pebble entered the water, and they do not tarry until they reach that center. This exactly represents every thought or word we think or speak. The thought or word sets in motion certain vibrations that go out and on in ever-widening circles until they compass the universe. Then they return as they went forth to the one that sent them out. Every thought or word we think or speak, be it good or bad, returns to us as certainly as we send it forth. This returning is the day of judgment spoken of in your Bible. Every day will be a day of judgment thereof. The judgment will be good or evil, just as the word or thought sent out is good or evil. Every idea, thought, or word becomes a seed. This seed idea is sent out, planted in the soul, held in mind, becomes a conception later to be brought forth or expressed in physical form. Thoughts or ideas of perfection bring forth perfection. Thoughts or ideas of imperfection bring forth imperfection. The sun and earth combined will produce with equal willingness the mighty banyan or the smallest flower if the seed is planted. It is in this way that the soul and spirit respond to the call of man, and that for which he asks by word or thought, he receives. The only thing that has separated man from heaven is a mist of material thought that man has created around heaven. And this has given rise to the mysteriousness that surrounds all things divine. This veil of mystery is gradually being pulled aside, and it is found that there is no mystery. Those establishing their different church organizations have found it expedient to surround the things of God with mystery, thinking to get a closer hold upon the people. But all are now finding that the deep things of God are the real simple things of life. If not, of what avail are they? All are perceiving that the church but typifies the Christ consciousness in man, the God center of humanity. They are perceiving the ideal instead of worshiping the idol, which has been built by mortal thought. Look at the vast number of heterodox organizations springing up on every hand. Though widely diversified now, they are bound to lead to the one. Has not the one thing come forth to bring the churches to the true realization? We who have so perfected our bodies that we are able to take them where we are privileged to see and be in what is called the celestial realm. This realm is known to a great many as the seventh heaven. This realm is thought to be the very mystery of mysteries. This again is where man in mortal thought has erred. There is no mystery. We have only reached a place in consciousness where we are able to receive the highest teachings, the place where Jesus is today. It is a place in consciousness where we know that by putting off mortality, we are able to take on immortality, where we know that man is immortal, sinless, deathless, unchangeable, eternal, just as God is and as God sees man. A place where we know the real meaning of the transfiguration, where we are able to commune with God and see Him face to face. A place where we know that all can come and receive and be as we are. We know that before long, the consciousness of all will be raised to the plane where we can talk with them face to face and see eye to eye. Our withdrawal from their sight is but the raising of our consciousness above that of the mortal, and by this we become invisible only to those in mortal consciousness. We have to look upon three events. One that happened long ago, the one that typifies to you the birth of the Christ consciousness in man, the birth of the babe Jesus. Then the one we can see coming when your great nation accepts and realizes the Christ consciousness. Then we love to turn to the third and last, the greatest of all splendors, the second and last coming of the Christ, when all know and accept the Christ within, and live and unfold in this consciousness and grow as the lilies grow. This is the atonement at one meant. As she finished, the invisible choir began to sing. The room was at first filled with music, which ended in a solemn dirge. Then there was a silence for a moment, and the choir again burst forth with one glad riot of music, with each measure ending in a boom, like the stroke of a great bell. This continued until 12 had been sounded, and we were suddenly realized that it was 12 o'clock and the new year was here. Thus ended our first year with these wonderful people. Thus ends the reading of chapter 24, and this is Now, a one-page addendum. In presenting these notes of experience with the masters, I wish to emphasize my personal belief in the powers of these masters and in their demonstration of a great law, a law that must carry a profound message to the whole human race. They proved conclusively that there is a law that transcends death and that all humanity in its evolution is slowly moving forward to understand and use it. The masters say this law will be brought forth in America, will be given to the world, and then all may know the way to eternal life. This, they acclaim, is the unfoldment of the new age. None of the manifestations referred to in these notes were the materializations of the ordinary seance. Far from it. It was the higher expression, making the body visible and invisible at will, a glorifying and spiritualizing of the flesh. There is a God law, and human beings will soon inherit it. Become illumined, and use the body with understanding in full masterhood. There is no question, but these people have brought the light through the long ages, and they prove by their daily life and works that this light does exist just as it did years ago. Sincerely, Barid T. Spalding. Publisher's note. In addition to Volume 1, we have published Volumes 2, 3, 4, and 5, in which are continued the counts of Mr. Spalding's experiences. So, some excellent takeaways from the last 3 pages of the book there. And I think the one that really deserves the most amount of time and commentary comes from the very last page where they say, well, we'll read this last paragraph one last time. They're talking about, we have to look upon 3 events. One that happened long ago, the birth of baby Jesus. The second, the coming of the great nation accepts and realizes great consciousness. They're talking about the United States of America. And then the third, when the greatest of all splendors, the second and last coming of the Christ, when all know and accept the Christ within, and live and unfold in this consciousness, and grow as the lilies grow. This is the atonement, the at-one-ment. Now, I personally just love that right then and there because as a child growing up in a religious organization with a religious upbringing, I thought about how wonderful it would be if Christ Jesus, the man, the myth, the legend, was to return. But then as I went along through my life, I just thought that was less plausible. It just became more or less plausible to me as time went on. Then when I found these books and other teachings by other masters and other authors that talked about the next or the second coming of the Christ, it has already happened for a lot of people. And it will happen on a massive scale, however, is what they're really talking about. And what really gets the masters most excited, and what gets me most excited. And that is when the mass of humanity, okay, like 51% and more, critical mass, accepts and realizes what the masters are teaching, what Jesus was teaching during his lifetime, and what he's continued to teach to millions of people. Maybe not millions, because as I understand it, it's a relatively small number comparative to the size of humanity that actually seek out, do the work, and attain Christ consciousness. David Wilcock talks about maybe in the history of humanity, the number is somewhere between 100 and 300,000 people total in Earth's third great age history, which is about 25,000 years. So it's probably really realistically closer to 150 to 200,000, but how can we actually know until we have universal consciousness, also known as Christ consciousness, and we're able to just kind of look panoramically back into history and and derive answers from reality and truth itself. But this is the time period in which we are living, right? We are in this kind of time, place, experience nexus in reality, in time, space experience, where the mass of humanity is being readied, if you will, by the universal, by God, for the acceptance of the Christ within. The thing that needs to be removed is like the veil of disinformation that has been propagated by those with malcontent that have positions of power within religious organizations, political organizations, mass movement organizations, media organizations, and those entities, okay? Because if you figure this truth out for yourself, right, but you don't necessarily have the good of the people at heart and in mind for what you would like to contribute to the human experience, then you're going to do everything in your power to keep this information from them whilst also then executing a form of it, right? A service to self timeline form of it, not a service unto others timeline form of it. Because if you engage like Christ Jesus did, like Mother Teresa did, like Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King and so many other individuals who have lived on planet Earth, if you engage in a service to others modality way of being, right, and using the Christ energy for the good of others, then you become known for all of the right reasons. And it's nearly impossible to truly hide what you're doing, because it's the love that pours forth from the Christ consciousness and one who is tuned in, tapped in, and turned on, and exuding it, exhibiting it, is undeniable, right? And it can't help but be talked about. It can't help but gain notoriety and spread goodwill, all right? But if you're on the service to self timeline, you're worshiping power, then you do not want the source of your power and the impetus of your motivations to be known. So you will operate in as much secrecy as you possibly can behind the veil of misinformation and misdirection, okay? So, not to get like political or judgmental or anything, but one of the quote-unquote greatest derivations of power unto the service to self group mind was the division of humanity into camps. And the most predominant division of humanity into camps, respectively, was and has always been religion. So for the longest time, religion was what ruled the world, and for many people it is still what rules their daily life. And if you put people into competing camps, like the masters are talking about here, and you have groups of individuals thinking that their heaven and their idea of what God is the end-all, be-all, and the only one, then it's obviously going to create strife and conflict with groups who think otherwise, right? When what the masters are saying is that it's just not that way. There are not endless variations of heaven. There is just one universal source which all can tune in and tap into and turn on with, and then live that way in oneness, right? Duality, down here on the plane of material existence, third density, is where we are able to entertain ideas of separation. Because if you believe, if you are, for example, a Jew, and person B is a Muslim, then they, by their own will, have separated their ideologies, and they view each other as separate because of the ideologies that they hold. They may recognize kind of simple binary truths that person is a man, I'm a man, so we're both men, or that person is a human and I am a human, so we are both humans, we are of the same species. But it's the ideas that ultimately drive the largest wedges between people. It's why people argue, it's why people fight, it's what wars are caused by. They're always caused by ideas, right? So we talked about yesterday this kind of boiling pot analogy of thought energy. And then the masters bring up the analogy of a bowl of water, because one of the the chief of the party asks, what form or what effect do our thoughts and words have on our daily lives? Well, they go on to explain that in this bowl of water, once the ripples reach the edge, they stop. That's how it's perceived on the material plane. But you probably have run this experiment in your own life in a bowl of water or in a bathtub, and you have noticed that when the ripples get to the edge, they do then rebound back towards that from which they came, or the thing that began their movement, the center. In this case, it's you and your mind. It's me and my mind. It's humanity and our collective mind. And right now, humanity is kind of like that boiling water analogy, with all of these different points, all of these different launching off points, stepping off points, sending out vibrations at different trajectories. So therefore, we have this hodgepodge returning to our planet, right? If you are, for example, a schizophrenic, and you have competing thoughts throughout the day, thoughts of self-harm, thoughts of self-love. We all have those to various degrees, but for schizophrenics, it's much more intense, right? It can be extreme rage one moment and then like extreme bliss the next in certain cases, or it could be split personalities. Think of any type of competing thought projection modality you want to, and that is humanity. All right, we have all of these varying idea launching points called people, projecting points called the human mind, sending out ideas about how the world really works and what this whole thing means, i.e. life and God. So therefore, we have all of these different and varied ideas coming back to our planet. What they're talking about, the at-one-ment, the atonement of humanity, when humanity recognizes the simple truth that, call it what you will, it doesn't make a difference if you really identify it for what it really is. The spark of all life, the all-spark, the all-father, and the thing that was originally created by the all-father, that which is existing inside of you is that which is animating your body, it is your animating principle, and it is your real identity. Once that has been grasped by the soul, then you are one step closer to that atonement for yourself, the at-one-ment with oneness. When humanity hits critical mass, it's like the 100th monkey effect will then take effect. You will have this effect where 51% of humanity gets it, and then the rest just catch on in rapid fire operation. The 100th monkey effect refers to monkeys on Japanese islands and an experiment conducted somewhere in the 50s to 60s, where younger monkeys figured out that if they took sweet potatoes that were being intentionally dropped in the sand to all of the monkeys, scientists were dropping sweet potatoes into the sand. They had lightly wetted them with water before they dropped them, so when the sweet potatoes hit the sand, they'd get covered in sand. Well, the older monkeys wouldn't eat the sweet potatoes because they didn't want to eat the sand. The younger monkeys figured out that if they took the sweet potatoes to the water and rinsed them off, then the sweet potato was just as good as before, and they ate them, right? Now, the older monkeys didn't want to get on board with this, but the younger monkeys, through generations, actually it just took one generation for enough of the younger generation to put this together, and when they hit critical mass within the species, geographically isolated monkeys, same species, but geographically isolated on an archipelago of islands, started to figure it out. So monkeys A over here on island A figured it out. They were the ones who the scientists were experimenting on, and then monkeys on island B, without any contact whatsoever with monkeys on island A, figured out that if they took the sweet potatoes and rinsed them off, they could just eat them and all was well. And it wasn't specific on island B to younger or older. But the first island, it was. The older monkeys didn't want to get on board. The younger monkeys were like, I'm all about it. Then all of the monkeys on all the surrounding islands followed suit once enough of the younger monkeys on island A started doing this as a regular practice. So that's the 100th monkey experiment, and it doesn't matter what form of biological life you take. If 51% of your species grasps a concept that is beneficial for evolution's sake and begins practicing it, then the rest of the species will intuitively begin to understand that that is what is in their best interest, and then they will begin to do it. That is what if you're a meditator, if you're watching this video, if this video resonates with you, that's what we, guys and girls, are working towards. It is the end state of our purposes here. Our purposes are first and foremost selfish in the best kind of way, which is to get ourselves to that point of Christ consciousness and realization, because we're doing it for an altruistic motive, to be of service unto others, to be loving and to be a blessing unto ourselves and therefore unto others by spreading joy and love and radiant positivity. But once humanity gets it, that 51%, once we hit that tipping point, then we hit the at-one-ment, the atonement with the universal, where the individuals who have perceived and been living in duality by their own free will realize that that's actually an illusion, and they return back to oneness, and therefore we go prospering with the masters, receiving the highest teachings, and being of most radiant positivity to the universe from our geographic location, which is the planet Earth. So, when it goes back to the water analogy and the boiling pot, this is kind of currently where we are, but things are beginning to simmer down because we've had this global pandemic and people are at home and they're able to relax a little bit more. Some people not so much, but some people very much more. Then we're going to get this kind of disclosure level event where this truth is going to be gifted to us. It's always been with us, but it's going to actually be gifted to us in a more proactive manner through the mediums which have been working to keep this truth from us. And I'm talking about big tech, social media, and television, right? Then once we kind of get this conscious download, this kind of overhaul of our belief systems, which are dualistic and encourages us to begin practicing oneness and kind of gives us the realistic, bona fide scientific evidence that this really is the case, that corroborates everything that the masters have been talking about. Then we fully move into the Renaissance era, the Renaissance period, and our planet begins sending out level, equal vibrations, ripples in the water, just like they were using the bowl and pebble analogy, and then equal, peaceful, mostly peaceful, probably 100% peaceful after we get through the kind of initial upheaval of belief systems, will then begin coming back to us, right? And things will really mellow out. So we'll go from this boiling pot of water analogy where each little bubble that comes to the surface and pops has a specific trajectory and it sends out this fan of vibration along that plane, and then the one that pops right next to it sends it out at a different angle, and this one pops and sends it out at that angle. We've got all these competing vibrations going out and coming back. Once we're able to kind of dial that down and really get back to oneness, then what will be coming back to us will be of a more uniformed variation and will be much more harmonious with not only how we do truly at our soul level want to be and interact and experience the world and experience ourselves and have experiences with others, but it will benefit every single aspect of biological life on this planet. Technology will get better. Species of animals and the species of humanity will interact more harmoniously. It'll all be for the benefit of all involved. All right? So with that, we've concluded book number 1 of Barid T. Spaldings Life and Teaching of the Masters of the Far East. Tomorrow we will jump into book 2, chapter 1. Thank you for being here through book number 1. Blessings, namaste, and happy Good Friday.